Hi, welcome to the Passionate Spinner podcast. This is episode no idea what. It's been a long time again. I think it's been like 2 months. I know my last video was my sweater recap for 2020 and I just didn't have time. It didn't happen. Whenever I had time to myself, I just didn't want to. All I wanted to do was just sit and do nothing. So it's been a while, but here I am. I have a lot of things to show you and lots of things to talk about because I decided that I wanted to show you all of the things that I have finished so far this year and just talk about all of those because I don't know when the next podcast episode is going to happen, to be honest. So yeah, I'll rather talk about everything now instead of nothing again for a while. So let's start. I'm wearing a sweater, as you can see. I think it's called Hogwarts History sweater that I changed up and added the owl pattern that was not supposed to be in there, but I really like that. So yeah, I'm wearing this one today and I'm sitting next to my oven and it's very warm, so I will not freeze because it's really cold out. Okay, let's start. Things that I have finished this year. I have been on a finishing kick, mainly because I lost all my love for starting new projects. Oh God, now I get hiccups. Great. So, I have not started anything since New Year's Eve, and I still have absolutely no motivation to start anything new. So I'm using that time to finish things because I still do want to knit, it's not like I completely lost my knitting love. I just don't want to start anything new. So I'm finishing stuff. These are not in the real order. It's just things I've finished so far this year. I finished a flax light for my son. It's this yarn, this sweater here. I used opal sock yarn. I had 2 skeins. I had a little bit left. The size is somewhere between 6 and 8. He's 5, but he's very tall. So this fits perfectly right now. He's been wearing it all the time and he absolutely loves it. So this is the Flex Light sweater pattern. The only thing I changed, despite, being numbers wise somewhere in between those numbers, is I did a folded neckline. So I knit double the length and attached it on the inside. And I just think that is such a nice finish, so I did that. Flex Light pattern is by Tink and Knits. It's a free pattern. And like I said, he's been wearing this all the time. I knit it on 3.5mm needles. That's US 4, I think. So that's the first thing I finished. Then I finished a sweater for myself as well, and I will not put it on because this is super warm. So this is the Extra Texture by Stephen West. It is, as you can see, a oversized boxy kind of pullover with an all over cable texture pattern and a saddle shoulder. And the sleeve is a ribbed sleeve with the continued saddle shoulder cable. I knit this out of Rowan Sophiliac yarn. I did the neckline and the hems on US 5s. That's 3.75mm needles, and the main body was knit on 5mm needles. That's US 8. I adore this sweater. I knit the smallest size because it's still plenty big, as you can see, but it is very comfy, and because of the yarn it is so warm. So yeah, it's just, I really like how this turned out, but yeah, I'm not going to be able to wear it a lot because it's just way too warm. Then I finished 3 pairs of socks. I'll show you 2 pairs first. I'll show you the other one last. So I finished 2 pairs of started plain vanillas. So like I said, everything I show you has been started before. The Flex Light, I think I started in the beginning of December. The Extra Texture I started last year, January, I think, or February, because I know I took my started project with me to the Swiss Yarn Festival, and that was the last weekend of February. So February last year. Then I finished 2 pairs of plain vanillas. They were also both started last year in August, both of them. So the first one let's show them in order. The first pair I finished is this one here. I did not bring sock blockers because I forgot. The yarn for these is hand dyed by my friend Sandra from Conto Bunte Wolle, and they look like this. It's a normal 75-25 sock yarn. I knit my socks always with 64 stitches on US 2 DPNs, that's 2.75 mil needles. I do a traditional slip stitch, heel, flap and gusset construction, and there is no pattern for these, and I will not write one up. So I've been knitting my socks like this for 20 years now, so that's what they look like. I really like those colors. I'm still not sure if they will go into the gift box or if they will stay with me, but I like how they turned out. And like I said, I started these in August 2020. The next pair I finished also started in August 2020 on the same day, because I started 4 pairs of plain vanillas and I knit them all, the cuff and a few rounds beyond on the first sock, and that was it. So that's where I picked both of these up. These are self-striping. The yarn was hand dyed by Ponderosa Wolle, which is a German indie dyer. I knit them also with a slip stitch heel and thought to myself that I couldn't just, cut the yarn after the heel to keep the stripes continuous. But it turned out and it worked out in a absolutely perfect way, because I used up exactly 1 pattern repeat for the heel and then could just continue knitting. I wound off yarn after I finished the first sock to get them both be the same, because I thought that would just look nice for these, And yeah, construction is the same, needle size the same, and these will stay with me because they remind me of Ireland a lot. Because first of all, they do have the 3 colors of the Irish flag, and they also have the different kinds of purples that you can see in the heather, landscape around Donegal, for instance. So yeah, these are mine. And then I have 2 more things. Is it 2 more? Yeah. So 2 more things that I want to show. And the first thing is actually also the first thing I finished this year, and it is a blanket. I started this blanket 10 years ago in 2011, and it's been on the needles for a while. It's a sock yarn leftover blanket knit with a single strand on 3.25 US 3 millimeter needles, and I knit 4 quadrants, seamed them together to get 1 large blanket, and then knit a border around. I'm not gonna, I don't know, you will not be able to see anything. You can see a quarter, so that's the first and the second, and then the third and the fourth. So that is basically what it looks like. It is nice and large, and I finally finished it after 10 years on my needles. Super happy about that. It took 880 grams of sock yarn that are in here. You can see it is a large blanket. Yeah, I'm really happy. I don't know what to say. The pattern that I use, I think, is called Itty Bitty Sock Yarn Blanket, or Itty Bitty Scrappy Blanket. I'm not sure. It's basically you cast on whatever number of stitches you want, knit in one direction, and when you're sick of it, you bind off and pick up stitches on one of the other 3 sides that you have not worked on previously and knit in that direction until you're sick of that and start at the other side again. So I also have 2 blocks with fish in them, because a long time ago there was this fish blanket mania going through Germany. I was like, oh, I have to do that too. I think I made 18 and then decided, you know what? No, not gonna happen. But I didn't want to throw them away. So like 8 years ago, I decided to seam them together and knit a border around. So I have this block here, and the other block is at the other end down here. I hope you can see that. I think you can. And so I incorporated these as the center pieces of 2 of my blocks. And the first block I knit was this one here. And I started with this blue, knit until I reached this stripe, and then decided, yeah, boring. And then I knit this stripe and on the other side. And yeah, you build it up the way you want, can knit to whatever size you want it to be. And it's done now. I'm super happy about it. So after I finished that, I was so excited. I was like, Tim, I just finished a gigantic thing. So what's next? Should I start a new project or maybe work on something I have on the needles already? And he looked at me and was like, Mom, what's the oldest thing you have on your needles? I'm like, this child is smarter than me. The oldest thing I had on my needles was a pair of stockings. It's the Rhiannon Stockings by Cookie A, and I started these in February 2008. I got married in August 2008, so these socks have been on my needles longer than I've been married. And now I finished them. I picked them up in mid-January, or yeah, I'd say mid-January. And I had one leg done to the point where I could start the heel, and the other leg had one pattern repeat. Because, you know, over the course of 13 years, I lost my my pattern, and I had marked all of the sizes because this is a multi-size pattern, you know, and I had to count all the stitches on the first sock so I can mark everything I needed for the second sock. And just, but then I finished them within 2 weeks. So here they are finished. I still can't quite believe it. They're done. I'll show them to you a bit better in a minute. They are really long. I used Stoppelwolle for this. And they have a horseshoe cable down the back with all the shaping. And the front has this, you know, very simple Celtic cable. They, according to pattern, the cable pattern should go all the way on the foot. I decided not to do that because this will be in my shoe. You won't be able to see. And they also had a flap going down with a different cable pattern, and I decided that I didn't want that either. So yeah, these are done. Finally, 13 years on the needles. The funny, or the main thing with these is I put them on Diag Crafts DPNs because they're very sharp, and I thought that that would make life so much easier with the cabling. And it really didn't. I put them back on Clover needles, the DPNs, you know, the old DPNs, which are the bluntest needle ever. And they were great for these socks. But the very pointy ones, I have 2 sets. And I think I need to destash them because they just didn't work for me. So yeah, that's the things I have finished this year. And like I said, I still don't want to start anything new. No pattern strikes my fancy. So I'm keeping going. I will keep going doing this finishing thing. And I know that I have a hard time deciding on stuff sometimes. So I wrote down all of my started projects on a piece of paper, and I put all of those papers in a glass, and I drew my projects. So I have drawn 2 projects to work on next, and I have 2 other ones that I've decided. So the first thing I've decided is to finish the next pair of socks. They were here when I picked them up. So I just picked them up again yesterday. Also started in August last year. Then I drew my boxy, which is the last thing I cast on from New Year's Eve. It looks like this right now. I'm using yarn from Stoppelwolle. it's this yarn here. It's really pretty, and I have done this much. Not a lot. I'm knitting this boxy in the smallest size written in the pattern, and I'm using 3.25 mil needles because this yarn is a bit thin. So that's what I'm doing here. It's a boxy. I'm not very far into it. Can't really tell you a lot about it yet about this one. I have a boxy already and I love it. That's why I'm knitting a second one. So first up, the other thing I drew was my oldest project. So the newest and the oldest. And the oldest project on my needles currently is a skirt. I know, it's a skirt. It's the Hip in Hemp pattern by Gudrun Johnston. It was a pattern in Knitty. And I started this in 2009. So where do you come from? Here. So one thing that I'm not sure if that is according to pattern or if I decided to do that. I did a folded hem or a folded waistband at the top, not the bottom. And I left an opening to put an elastic. And I'm using cotton yarn that I also bought at the Schoppelwolle factory outlet store. I think the yarn for the boxy, the stockings I just showed, and this I bought at the same time, like 15 years ago. And I'm this far into the pattern. As you can see, I put it on 2 needles so I can try it on because I started this in 2009. It is 2021 right now. So my body has changed a lot in that time. And I wasn't sure if it would fit, but I put it on and now it doesn't look like it. But when I had it on, you know, this will stretch out a lot. So I think it will fit. Worst thing that happens, it doesn't fit or I look like I'm in a sausage case. And I will give it to my sister because she is smaller in every direction and I'm sure she will look great in this. So yeah, it's the next thing that will be finished, I hope, or you know, the next large thing at least. So these are the 3 things I'm currently working on. And oh no, I forgot one. I have one large object still I'm working on. My son will start school in September. And when he was like 2, I fuzz in my nose. I decided that I wanted to knit him a blanket for when school starts, you know, as this is a new chapter in your life kind of remembrance gift. And I started a mitered square blanket for him. And this year in January, I had knit club on the first Saturday of the year and was like, I wanted to do that blanket for when he starts school, which is soon, you know? So I took it out and realized I had knit 10 squares. We did, together, we did the math. My squares are roughly 4 by 4 inches. That's a 10 centimeter square. And to get a nice large blanket, you know, for a boy that will grow into a man, and hopefully he will use that blanket forever, I need 216 squares. So, you know, 10 on this side and 216 on the other. There's a lot of difference between these 2 numbers. So I decided to knit a square a day, and to make my life easier and to make this a bit more interesting, I decided to re-watch all of Criminal Minds while I'm knitting those squares, because I thought 1 episode equals 1 square. Doesn't quite, because a square takes about an hour and an episode is like 45 minutes. So I'm using more episodes than I'm needing to knit squares. So with all of 15 seasons, I should get to that, I hope. So right now, I think I'm at 46 squares. So I did a lot of work. And this is what it looks like so far. I'm gonna stand up. I'm still not able to show you, but it is, I decided to do his all in different shades of blue. And this is what I have so far. It's not quite a quarter, but you know, it's getting there. It's getting bigger, and I'm doing mitered squares. I'm not using a specific pattern. What I do, because I don't want to take care of what is the right side and wrong side row. So I'm using, I'm knitting these with 60 stitches. So 30 stitches on each side. I put a marker in the middle, and on right side and wrong side row, I knit until I have 2 in front of the marker. I knit 2 together, knit to the end. And when I come back on the other side, I knit till 2 to the marker, knit 2 together, knit to the end. And that way I just do the same thing over and over, and I don't have to think about anything. And that's what I'm getting. I'm knitting this blanket on short straight needles, and they are 3.25 millimeter needles, I think. So yeah, this is my blanket that I hope to finish for when Tim starts school in September. I'm not ready for school. I really am not for him. You know, we are living such a chill life right now. That's just gonna be over. So yeah, now I have to put my things a bit differently here. Okay, that's all the knitting. There's no knitting in the future because I do not want to start anything still. I'm very happy with, you know, just knitting all my things. I do have spinning because I still haven't shown the last yarns from last year. So I'm going to show those first, and then there's a bit of sewing. I'll just browse through these because I've done those last year. I have not touched my spinning wheel this year as of yet. So the first skein I'm going to show you is spun from a Felt Studio UK roving. It is a BFL and sparkle nylon, and I got 318 yards, and that's 291 meters, and it is 98 grams. So that is it. Traditional 2-ply, just a very nice sock yarn because it's superwash BFL and super bright nylon. So it's a sock yarn. Then this one here keeps opening up. Next up, I have a braid that was a gradient. It's a 50 BFL and 50 silk. I have 256 meters, that's 280 yards, it's 100 grams, and I Navajo plied this. It goes, I think, from a turquoise or purple to green to turquoise and back. So that is that one. I have a very tiny skein of yarn that was spun from Rolex. It looks like this. The Rolex were from Bakewell Hearts, and they're called the Joker, and I also have the Batman to spin. This is 94 meters, 103 yards, and 34 grams. I have this skein here. It is 2F by hand, and the fiber is, what is it, Shetland? No, it's mixed BFL. It's a mixed BFL, and I am Save As Houses, I think is the colorway name. I got 304 meters, that's 333 yarns, and 128 grams. Looks like this. Will probably become a very nice hat. And then I have two larger quantities. This one here came to life from two different bats from Rat der Zeit and two braids of fiber from Widdershin Woolworks. The Widdershin was a BFL silk, and the Rat der Zeit was, I think, also BFL silk. It's a merino and silk. So I had 400 grams ish, and So my first skein here is 471 meters. That's 515 yards for 190 grams. And the second skein, the second skein is 450 meters, 492 yards, and 184 grams. So in total, I have around 1,000 yards to knit a sweater for myself with. And it is really nice, dark greens and browns and grays and a bit of yellow and just very much my colors. This is so pretty. I'm super excited to knit this. And I think it's about a sport to DK weight, I'd say. And then the last yarn I wanted to show is a 3 braid combo spin that I did out of 2 braids of 3 Waters Farm and 1 braid from my friend Barbara from Almroschwolle. So the first skein here is 602 meters, that's 658 yards for 173 grams. And this is a definite sport weight. And the other skein is 468 meters, that's 512 yards and 154 grams. So what do we have? 512 and 658. It's 1,170 yards. Definitely going to be a very nice cardigan for myself. I love those colors also. I think this is so pretty. So that's my yarn. I'm rushing through, I'm sorry, but I don't want this to be 2 hours long. So now sewing. There's a tiny bit of sewing. I did make some dishcloth, you know, but I didn't bring them. What I brought, however, is a project pack that I made for myself. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this, you will have seen all of this, but this one here used to be a mini skirt and it used to fit. And I did not cut off anything on the sides. So this was the width of my skirt. This at the top here is the original hem, or yeah, the original waistband. And it was a wrap skirt, so, you know, you have to take off a bit of that. Yeah. I made this before I knew anything about sewing clothes, before I really knew anything about sewing. But I made this and I loved it. And I mean, as you can imagine, it doesn't fit anymore. Nowhere close. So I turned it into a project bag. What I did to do that, basically, I closed the, did I? No, I didn't. I had put in these 2 pleats. I just seamed side seams together and I boxed the bottom. I did not interface this because I wanted to have a really squishy project bag. I cut off the bottom hem and the side hems so I can, you know, put it together without extra bulk. And I used that to braid, that is the original hem, and I braided it up into a handle that I then put on my bag. And for the top, I found a zip that is exactly this long, and it's in this purple. That just really goes very well. And I just sewed it on, you know. I didn't do anything to be pretty for this thing. I just put it together. And it holds 15 skeins of 100 gram sock yarn. So it turned out really rather nice and big. I had all of my hand spun in here and there was plenty of room left. So this will be a sweater project bag from now on. And it now has a second life after I outgrew it. Now, that's it for the sewing. For new stuff, I have been very good. I haven't bought any yarn so far this year. And I have bought 1 knitting book. And it's this book here. It is Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. It's by Stephanie Lotwin. And I got this book because I have a shit ton of self-striping yarn. So yeah, I really like it. There are super nice projects in it. I'm going to show you the back. I like this one and that one especially. So I'm gonna knit stuff out of this book whenever I feel like starting new projects. So that's the new stuff. And then I have reading, listening, watching. So for watching, I have been rewatching a lot of things. I am rewatching Criminal Minds while I knit on the blue blanket. I started rewatching The Mentalist and I got to season 3 so far, while upstairs knitting in the evenings, but I think I want to stop doing that and either go back to Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Supernatural. And I also, for my birthday last month, I decided to buy myself a complete box set of CSI Miami. And I started watching that while I'm in my sewing room. So that's the watching. I also started watching The Iron Fist on Netflix. Yeah, not sure about that one. It doesn't call me to keep watching, you know? So I'm not sure if I will. Then listening, I listened to 2 audiobooks last month. I finished started books. I didn't start any new books. So the first thing I finished was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And then I finished Holly Black's Cruel Prince. I had started that one in December because I wanted to try a new audiobook providing service thing. And I listened to that and I'm not sure if I want to continue on listening because the first book I didn't quite enjoy, you know. It's about a girl. Her name is Jude. She is the main character. And her twin sister and her older half-sister had been abducted by this Fae Lord warrior person who is her older sister's father. And he didn't only abduct them, he also killed her mother and her father. And then she kind of develops a sort of Stockholm syndrome-ish thing because she wants to please him all the time, and she grows up in fairy, but she's human, so she's humiliated all of the time, especially by the supposed love interest, who is royalty and a complete dick. And yeah, and also Jude is not a very likable character. I didn't like her at all. I didn't like him at all. I didn't like anybody in this book. So I'm not sure. People are raving about the trilogy. You know, it's a trilogy. That was the first book. And I do have books 1, The Cruel Prince, and book 2, The Wicked King, on my Kindle. So I can read the second book. But so far, it doesn't really call me because I didn't like the first one all that much. So that was what I listened to. And then I read a book called O du Mörderische, which the English title is Murder on a Bad Hair Day. It's an, what was it? Southern Sisters Mystery by Anne George, I think. That's it. It's the second book in the series, which isn't, it's not important. You know, I read that one and I didn't like it. So I will not read any other books in this series. The other 2 books I finished in January. I read 5 books in January. So those 3. And then my book of the month was this one here. It is a book by Giles Milton. It's called Vom Mann, der mit 2 Flaschen Whisky den Untergang der Titanic überlebte, in kuriosen Anekdoten durch die Weltgeschichte. I have no idea what the English title is. Let's check. Normally it should tell me. Our original title's name is Fascinating Footnotes from History. And that was an amazing book. It was just, you know, funny or interesting stories of people throughout history. That's what it was. They were like 4 to 5 pages each. And yeah, I read one story about roughly a day, started somewhere at the end of November. And I really liked this one because I love history, you know. So I enjoyed that one a lot. Then I also finally finished Life Will Be the Death of Me by Chelsea Handler, which was a good book. But I feel like she's just so entitled, and she's like, but I don't want to learn how to work my computer or my TV station, so I'll just call my assistant for the 500th time to do it for me. I mean, yeah, that's the life you're living, but is it really that hard to learn things like that? I mean, yeah. It was a book where she dealt with the death of her older brother when she was a child, so that part really was very interesting to me. But a lot of the other things were, yeah, I could have done without. So it's a fun book to read, but you will definitely survive without it. And now I am reading Apple Pie and Arsenic, and I brought my my Kindle because I have no idea what the author's name is. And I just had this cover made, and it is a custom cover because I put in a picture of the view from, you know, just up there, walk like 5 minutes, and that's the view you have. And I decided to have that on my Kindle. So let's check out who the author is. It's a cozy mystery. It's the first in a series. And the author's name is C.A. Phipps. It's a Maple Lane cozy mystery. That's what it says on the thing, on the cover. So now, Apple Pie and Arsenic. It's a traditional cozy mystery, you know. Girl comes back to her hometown after being away for first becoming a businesswoman and then deciding, yeah, you know what, this sucks. And then she moves to New York to become a baker, and she saves lots of money because she wants to have her own bakery, and she wants to do that with her roommate or friend in New York. And then she visits her grandmother in Washington State, I think this takes place. And she's like, oh, look, up there's a storefront and it's empty. And I thought, you and I, we could just open a bakery together. And then she's like, but I wanted to do that in New York with my friend. She's going to be so angry at me. And then her friend, of course, mysteriously is so happy that she decided to do that with her grandma because she actually wants to do something else. So, you know, it's all very convenient. And then I actually really enjoy it. You know, I'm not bashing it, but it is all very generic convenient. So she opens that bakery with her grandma. She gets help from all her girlfriends, and also from her ex-boyfriend, who is now the town sheriff, and he is the hottest guy on the planet, and he's single. And so, you know, so far so generic. And then, like I said, I really like the story. Murder happens, she finds the dead body, she's, you know, a bit shortly, she's accused of being the culprit. And then, and this is what drives me crazy in every cozy mystery. So her friend, supposed love interest-ish, we'll see, definitely, is the town sheriff, right? And she decides to go be her own little sleuth and detect what's going on here. But she cannot tell him because she doesn't want to endanger him because he's too important to her. Like, but he's the fucking sheriff. That's his job. Why do all these women in cozy mysteries be like, but I don't want to put him in danger. That's his job, man. Ugh. So yeah, I was so frustrated when I hit that point that I had to stop reading it. Even it was like, ugh, why is it always like this? And you know, they always justify their actions in the same way. He will understand that I just didn't want to put him in danger. He will understand that I thought I could do his job better than him because I'm a baker and he's a sheriff. So it was like, okay then. I'm going to finish it. I'm probably going to read the whole series, you know, because I really like it. I like the writing and the characters and everything. But that is just the one point in almost every cozy mystery that drives me crazy. It's like, but why are you behaving so stupidly? Yeah. So that's that. I'm reading that right now. I also have a stack of other physical real started books that I want to finish, and some other books on my Kindle that I started. And I'm in a finishing mood right now. You know, I want to finish knitting, I want to finish books. I'm finishing everything right now. So for this year, when it comes to books, I decided to keep a reading journal. And I used this book here. And it's just, you know, 2021. This was already in. I did not do this. And then I have these 2 pages where I just, you know, I've read 5 books so far. They have numbers, and a bit later there's a master list. I have the year in pixels, and I have read almost every day for an hour so far, which makes me very happy. And also on the year in pixels, I have a German and English tracker because I want to see which language I read more. I have the hauled page where I put in books that I bought this year. And you know, I mean, we're a month in, and so far this looks good. Here's the master list of books I've read. Then I have a started series, and I decided to do it in a way where I put the name of the series here and a little stamp for every book in the series, and then color in the books I have started or finished. And this one here, for instance, the A Discovery of Witches series, I started the first book, but I haven't finished it, so I put it in the list because it started. Then, I mean, there's a lot of series I'm reading. I have a page for quotes that I haven't used yet. All of the started books. These are all books I have started, and I'm crossing them off slowly but surely, as you hopefully can see. And then I have my monthly page. So this was January, my book of the month. And in the next is the list of books I've read. And then there's February. And I haven't read anything so far yet, so it looks like this. So I'm keeping this because I really just want to read more. I've missed reading so much last year. So that brings me to the last thing I want to talk about, and that is everything else. So the first important part for this section is tomorrow is going to be a weekend. Now let me check the date. It is the 12th today. So tomorrow is Saturday, the 13th of February. We have a VKN at 9 p.m. GMT +1. You can access the VKN via a link that I will post in the Ravelry group. And if you cannot use Ravelry, just DM me on Instagram and I can send you a link so you can get in. And the other thing is I always do like a mental health talk in the end. And yeah, let's do that. So as you saw, I'm in a finishing mood, and I think I have detected why. I'm starting to feel really good. You know, I'm feeling so much better than I have in years. And I think the inner, you know, the wish to finish all of those started things is kind of like an inner wish to clear out my mind, you know, to just get it all organized and done. So yeah, I'm gonna do that as long as I want to do it. And it's just really, it really is good for me right now to finish all of these things. And I also am still doing my journal, and the sun is, I'm sorry, the sun is blinding me here, but I'm still doing my journal. I write not every day, but almost every day in there, and it's done wonders to me. And I'm learning to just let other people behave the way they want, but not let it affect me as much, because that's been my main problem, you know, when other when other people behave like shit, it usually would make me feel horrible and, you know, worthless and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Nope, that's your problem, not mine. And I'm learning to do that. Of course, sometimes I still feel horrible when people are horrible, but not as much, you know, I'm getting there. So yeah, I think that's it for this time. I have no idea when I will be able to podcast again. I mean, let's be real here. It's gonna happen when it's gonna happen. That's all I can tell you now. So until I see you again, I hope you all have a wonderful time. and enjoy everything you do. Bye.